This conference will now be recorded.
All right, so I'm Tony G, and what I wanted to do here real quick is give you an overview of this BloodHound tool that I mentioned in the blog earlier on. I think it's a neat tool to be able to give you an idea of your security posture in the Active Directory environment. Now, this information is not only good for the offensive side, but it's also good for the defensive side as well, and I wanted to be able to show that. Also, just a quick FYI, the data that I'm using is demo data that actually comes with the BloodHound tool. So I'm going to go directly here to queries, and you're going to find out that you're going to have these pre-built-in analytic queries where you can click any one of them, and you can immediately start to visualize the actual data that you've gathered from that's in your database. Here's one here. Find all domain admins. That might be useful. I'm not going to click there. The one that I'm more interested in, because it has some good use cases, is find shortest paths to domain admins. I'm going to click that. It's going to want to know what domain admin I'm referring to, what group. Click on that, and pretty much instantaneously, I got some visualization of my data. Now, there's a lot here to kind of take in, but what you can see is that you have users that are displayed, group policies, OUs, and user groups here. So a variety of different objects that are displayed along with how they're actually linked. I'm not going to go through all of these actual links, but a lot of valuable information. Now, you might be asking yourself, what is this shortest path first, or the shortest path to domain admins really mean? Well, remember when an adversary establishes an initial foothold in the environment, they're going to want to figure out how to escalate their privileges and ultimately get domain admin rights, right? This is what is being visualized here. It's giving the adversary that information to find out the path to be able to do that. Now, there are two use cases here I want to actually show. One is, remember earlier on the blog where I was talking about how the adversaries, if they have the right access, can modify the GPOs to maybe download certain software. Maybe it's their malicious payload that they want to have downloaded and executed on machines, or maybe you want to modify the hardening configurations to machines that maybe group policy is configured to do. You modify those group policies. Next thing you know, those machines don't have the security shields that they had in the past, that basically then would expand that attack surface for the adversary. But to do all that, right, you need the right access. And right here, you can see that this particular user seems to be the right owner of this GPO. So I know if I can grab credentials for that person, I will then be able to modify this GPO. And hey, if I'm looking to access machines that might be involved with PCI, which it looks like this is the case, this might be the group policy that I want to be able to access, and here is the actual user that has rights to be able to do so. So that's just one use case. Very quickly, you can determine that. Now, on the flip side here, I thought there was, well, not necessarily the flip side, but another, that second use case is this has session here. What has session is it's basically saying, hey, this user right here has an active session on this computer. Now, why is that actually relevant? Well, it's relevant for two reasons. The first reason is this user is actually a member of enterprise admin. So, hey, if I somehow could get these particular credentials, now I'm going to have enterprise admin rights. Now, that's the first thing. The second thing to note is when a user logs in to a Windows machine, their credentials are stored in the LSAS process. So if you were able to have OS credential dumping tools on that machine, if you're able to get access on the machine, use some type of tool like Mimikatz, you can extract those username and passwords, those credentials from that logged in user. In this case, it would be this person. You could then, if you were successful with that, you can then have that user rights, and basically you are enterprise admin. Now, if you didn't know that information, any one of these links here, you can right click and go to help. And it's going to give you a lot of the information that I just mentioned before. Here, it says this user has an actual session on this computer. Boom. It also gives you more information saying, hey, when a user is authenticated on this computer, oftentimes their credentials are exposed. Here they're saying exactly what I was saying before about injecting into the LSAS process to be able to grab the credentials. I can dive in here a little bit more as well, and it talks about password theft, and it does talk about those specific types of tools that would be used in that type of attack. It also lets you know that it can do token impersonation as well. Now, from a defensive side, it does give you some consideration. Say, hey, look, if yeah, that's possible for the adversary to do that. But if you want to be able to reduce the chances of that happening, maybe look at an EDR tool, right? And FortiEDR can definitely detect injections into the LSAS process. If you're on our managed detection and response service, our 24/7 SOC would alert you and take some type of action on that, particular alert. So with that said, what the adversary wants to do is figure out how to get on that particular device, right? So if you have a large network, you'll probably have 4 or 5 machines that might be of value for the offensive person to be able to try to get on those particular machines, because if they can dump the credentials, they could have admin access. Now, if I flip it a little bit, then go on to the defensive side, that information is extremely valuable as well, right? Because now I can look at, I can run this over and over again over, I don't know, maybe a week or so. You can start to see different types of trends. You can start to see certain users that might have admin rights that are continuously logging on to certain computers. You might want to go back and validate, is there a reason why they have to actually log on to those systems with admin privileges? Maybe they do, maybe they don't. If they do, then you probably want to make sure that you have some type of compensating control, like having a tool similar or exactly like FortiEDR installed on that machine itself. Also valuable information, if the adversary has established an initial foothold into the environment, and you know that they're probably going to be able to get this same type of information from your Active Directory, they might already be looking for these types of machines. So when you have your incident responders starting to look at logs and what have you, they might be able to focus more on these machines that you've identified having admins logging on to these machines, because it's highly likely that's where they're going to go to first. So start looking for indicators of compromise on those particular machines. So a lot of valuable information on both sides. I think I'll stop here for now, but just note there's a lot of really good information that you can glean from this particular tool, and I recommend you downloading it, kind of taking a look at it. I think you're really gonna like it. So with that said, until next time, I'm Tony G.